Have you ever wondered about the true origins of Black people? The Bible, one of the oldest and most influential texts in human history, offers profound insights that trace back to the very beginnings of humanity. But as we uncover these origins, we must also grapple with the painful reality: much of this rich heritage has been lost or obscured over time. From the towering pyramids of Egypt to the bustling cities of the ancient kingdom of Kush, Black people have always played a crucial role in shaping human civilization. Yet, over the centuries, through the destructive forces of slavery, colonialism, and systemic erasure, much of their history has been silenced or rewritten. This loss has not only deprived Black people of their cultural and spiritual identities, but it has also distorted the global narrative about Africa and its people. In this video, we will journey back through time to explore the biblical roots of Black people, examine the devastating impact of cultural erasure through slavery and colonialism, and celebrate the ongoing movement to reclaim and revive their true identity. This is a story of resilience, courage, and the enduring power of culture and heritage. The Bible tells us that all of humanity descends from a single pair, as Adam and Eve, implying a shared ancestry for all races. This idea suggests that at our core, we are all connected by a common origin. But as the biblical narrative unfolds, it also provides important clues about the specific lineage that gave rise to Black people. As we trace this lineage through the generations, one figure stands out: Ham, one of Noah's 3 sons. After the Great Flood, the Bible recounts how Noah's 3 sons Shem, Ham, and Japheth became the progenitors of the peoples of the earth. Each of Noah's sons was linked to different regions and cultures. Ham's descendants, in particular, hold great significance because they are traditionally associated with the birth of African civilizations and the peoples of the Middle East. His sons Cush, Mizraim, Fat, and Canaan spread out and settled in regions that today correspond to modern-day Africa and parts of the Arabian Peninsula. Let's explore the lineage of Ham's sons and their impact on the development of African civilizations. Cush, for example, is often associated with Nubia, a region located to the south of Egypt, known for its ancient power and cultural influence. The Kingdom of Kush, one of the earliest known African kingdoms, flourished for centuries, influencing not just the African continent but the ancient world at large. Mizraim, another of Ham's sons, is the Hebrew name for Egypt, arguably the most famous civilization in the ancient world. Egypt was not only known for its iconic architecture, like the Great Pyramids and the Sphinx, but also for its contributions to mathematics, astronomy, medicine, and spiritual philosophy. It was a civilization that laid the groundwork for many aspects of modern society. Even today, Egypt's cultural and intellectual legacy is studied, admired, and revered. Canaan, the land where the Israelites later settled, also has deep ties to Ham's lineage. The Canaanites were a people deeply rooted in the Near East, and their land became a crossroads of cultures, empires, and spiritual traditions. These connections show that Ham's descendants were not confined to a single region but played a crucial role in shaping civilizations across both Africa and the Middle East. As Ham's descendants spread across Africa, they established some of the world's most advanced and influential civilizations. From the bustling trade routes of the Kingdom of Aksum in modern-day Ethiopia to the thriving cities of Carthage along the Mediterranean coast, Black people were at the heart of global trade, cultural exchange, and innovation. The Kingdom of Aksum was one of the most powerful empires in ancient Africa, known for its architectural achievements, extensive trade networks, and early adoption of Christianity. Meanwhile, Carthage, founded by the Phoenicians in what is now Tunisia, became a dominant force in the Mediterranean, renowned for its naval prowess and thriving economy. African civilizations were not only centers of power and wealth but also of learning and spirituality. These societies contributed immensely to the world's knowledge in fields like mathematics, astronomy, and medicine. For instance, the ancient libraries of Timbuktu in Mali house some of the most important manuscripts in African and Islamic history, covering subjects ranging from theology to science. Spirituality was deeply woven into the fabric of these societies, with complex belief systems that linked the people to their ancestors and the divine. However, much of this rich history would be tragically interrupted by one of the darkest chapters in human history, the transatlantic slave trade. Over the course of 400 years, millions of Africans were forcibly taken from their homelands, subjected to unimaginable horrors aboard overcrowded slave ships, and sold into bondage in the Americas. This mass displacement not only inflicted physical and psychological trauma but also caused deep cultural and spiritual wounds. The trauma of slavery was compounded by the systematic erasure of African cultures. Many enslaved Africans were forbidden from speaking their native languages, practicing their spiritual traditions, or honoring their ancestors. Christianity, which had once offered spiritual solace and community, was now being used by colonial powers to strip African peoples of their identity. The forced conversion to European customs and values alienated many from their own heritage, leaving a void that would take centuries to heal. Colonialism further entrenched this erasure. European nations carved up the African continent during the infamous Scramble for Africa, imposing new borders, systems of governance, and ways of life that undermined indigenous cultures. Native languages were suppressed, traditional governance structures were dismantled, and African spiritual practices were labeled as primitive or pagan. In the Americas, the descendants of enslaved Africans faced new challenges in maintaining their cultural identity. Cut off from their roots, they were forced to navigate a society that devalued blackness and promoted the superiority of European culture. Many were pressured to assimilate, adopting European customs and internalizing negative stereotypes about their African heritage. The result of this cultural dislocation was a deep sense of loss. The separation from their African roots and the constant reinforcement of the idea that African culture was inferior led to internalized racism within Black communities. This disconnection was not just a loss of traditions and customs, it was a fragmentation of identity, a loss of the very essence of what it meant to be Black. But the story doesn't end there. In recent decades, there has been a powerful movement among Black people to reconnect with their African roots and reclaim their cultural identity. This process involves rediscovering the languages, spiritual practices, and traditions that were lost or suppressed. It's about healing, restoring what was taken, and reviving the pride that comes from knowing one's true heritage. Education is a cornerstone of this cultural revival. By learning and teaching the true history of Black people beyond the narratives of slavery and colonialism, we can rebuild a cultural identity that is rooted in pride, resilience, and connection. This involves not only looking back at the past but also forging a future that honors and celebrates the diversity and richness of Black culture. Reclaiming identity also means recognizing and celebrating the contributions of Black people to global culture, science, and thought. From the arts to politics, spirituality to technology, Black excellence continues to shape the world. The path forward involves fully embracing this heritage and committing to preserving and promoting Black culture for future generations. The Bible and history together tell a powerful story about the origins of Black people, a story that is both ancient and ongoing. From the lands of Kush and Egypt to the early Christian communities of North Africa, Black history is deeply intertwined with the broader narrative of human civilization. But understanding this heritage is only the beginning. To truly reclaim our identity, we must reconnect with the spiritual, cultural, and historical roots that define us. Thank you for joining us on this journey. If you found this video insightful, be sure to like, share, and subscribe for more explorations into the history and culture that shape our world. Together, let's continue the work of reclaiming and celebrating our true identity.